Hello everyone, I'm CoolGuy, welcome back. Season of Dawn is here, and it brought some solar subclass changes. I'm excited to start digging in and breaking them down. A lot of them could change the makeup of how we play Destiny, and the first subclass I want to go in depth on is Bottom Tree Gunslinger, the way of the Sharpshooter. At the end of the video, I'm going to give my thoughts on what they've done. There's a lot to cover in here for both PvE and PvP. There are some differences between mouse and keyboard PC and console. I do believe that this subclass is now a top 5 neutral game, and as I go through it, I think you're going to see why. I spent over 25 hours getting all these numbers and testing it. Put it this way, I've only done the sundial once because this is where all my time has been going. The Gunslinger has historically been one of the more balanced subclasses in the history of the game. In Destiny 1, the Gunslinger's neutral game was all about your gunplay, whether it being more stability, a faster reload. There was a throwing knife, but it was mostly about making your weapons better. This update, the Gunslinger is going back to its roots. Let's go over the new tree and see what's going on. Out of the gate, the 3-shot golden gun has increased auto-aim distance and reliability when aiming down sights more or less. Accuracy was upped. This is a good thing. The entire subclass revolves around accuracy and precision. First up, the big change, weighted knife. High damage throwing knife with a long wind up, travels at high speeds and does extra bonus damage to the critical, to the head. Precision shot final blows recharge the melee completely. This can one shot in the crucible. The knife animation starts once you press the melee button. There's no holding the knife to release it. Once you press the melee button, the knife comes out. The animation itself is sick. Very cool animation. So if an enemy is up close, you have to kind of track with the little circle reticle that's on the screen and lead the shot into them. The trajectory is fast and far. On console, it keeps the trajectory before it starts to kind of fall for about 35 to 36 meters consistently when aiming at mid-critical. In PvP, this is pulse range. Anything longer than that, you need to aim a tad bit above them. Now on PC with mouse and keyboard, this distance is a little bit further. Aiming around mid-critical, the knife's flight stays and lands up to 40 meters. I do want to point out that the knife does have crazy aim assist, crazy magnetism. As I stated on console, 35 to 36 meters is the consistent one, but I did have one at 40 meters. I wasn't able to replicate it at 40 meters again. I tried a lot. It only happened this one time. But the knife itself can have a mind of its own with its magnetism. On PC, I was getting some crazy curves to it, looping in, finding the critical spot. I could be 2-3 meters to the left or to the right, and it ends up finding the critical. It's madness. The knife also does bounce. It could be off of a wall, off the floor. It takes one bounce and does max damage. Could be interesting if there's an angle off the wall to where someone's camping. I've used it like right here. I know an enemy is going to be jumping up, so I bounced it. This leaves more time and a slower trajectory for it to land as they're coming up into them. I get the body shot tag and I follow up with the Monte Carlo. The Monte Carlo reset the knives, and for the second enemy, I close the angle, I bounce it again, so it's taking that little extra time instead of just throwing it straight. And the second knife, this one lands on the critical spot, so the bounce shots do happen. In the Crucible, the knife does 212 damage to the head. That downs all resilience. The body shot knife damage is 142. That's there for an easy cleanup. And remember, it resets after you land a critical shot, so you can chain them. Lots of big plays can happen with the throwing knife. Maybe a player's rushing you with a shotgun. Maybe they're posted up in a doorway. You have an angle to throw the knife at a long distance and tag them. And as I get into more and more of the perks, all of this kind of combines off of each other. In the background is the start of a game. I fast forward through a lot of it, but look at the super bar as I'm landing final knife blows. Look at how much super energy it's giving me. And I get my golden gun in under a minute. The knife animation itself just takes right under 1 second, about a second, to get through the whole thing. So if you're out in the open and you don't land your knife, you're a sitting duck. It's best used if you're by cover, you quickly come in and out for the throw, go back in the cover, or you can do it from the air using your vertical space since you're on a hunter. There's no wrong answer. But know that you need to land the knife if you're out in the open. And that knife might be a last case scenario. As you're going down, you're ace in the hole. You can try to get that knife off to at least tie a gunfight. Out of the gate, the Ophidius Spathe is a top option. You get 2 knives. If you miss one, you can follow it up with another. You also want Gambler's Dodge because of this knife. Dodging near an enemy resets your melee, so getting that knife back. Running it with Monte Carlo is ideal for maximum weighted knife uptime. That goes for PvE and PvP. You can also use it with something like Assassin's Cowl. Defeating a Guardian with a melee attack or an enemy combatant with a finisher restores a portion of health and shields and makes you go invisible. Big plays can happen, and you can do it from a distance. There are many ways to run it with neutral exotics, even Foe Tracer. You can track them as they're coming out of cover and line up the knife, or Sealed Ahamkara grasps to reload your weapon. Six Coyote, the Frosties, many ways. Especially in something like Comp, you're gonna have 2 knives to throw. In PvE, the knife does fairly good damage. It downs and one-shots a lot of enemies. Critical multipliers are different for different things, against different enemies. The base body damage is a good mark to go off of. The knife is about the same damage as a high-impact sniper body shot, give or take a couple damage. But of course, the crit multiplier is way higher with the sniper rifle, but the critical damage of the knife is no slouch. That crit multiplier is 1.5 with the knife. Remember, it counts as a melee. It procs things like Swashbuckler, Monte Carlo's perk, and in any activities with increased melee damage, this knife could put in a lot of work. Honestly, the more that we get into this, the knife could really become a good part of your PvE build with using something like Ophidius Spath. Overall, crazy new addition for the Gunslinger. The next perk node, Practice Makes Perfect. Enter a trance with each precision hit, reducing the cooldown of your golden gun. With this perk, super energy granted was reduced by 16%, but they increased the buff duration by 50%. Precision kills now grant 2 stacks. The max stack is going to be a ×5, and you can stay there as long as you keep landing precision hits. At tier 3 intellect, your super is at a 5-minute cooldown. But just to show, and this isn't sustainable, the perk does put in work. If you keep that ×5 stack on your screen, something like a 5-minute super cooldown is reduced to 1 minute and 27 seconds, keeping Practice Makes Perfect at that ×5 stack. It's substantial. Though something like this is going to happen once in a blue moon, but think about all the kills that you're going to be getting that's going to be adding super energy, or something like enhanced ashes to assets. As long as you're landing precision hits, you get a very good super cooldown. And when you finish with a final blow, you start off with a 2 stack and you go from there. It's very good. I've had some PvP games where I've had 3 to 4 golden guns, and in that previous clip, getting a golden gun in under a minute due to the knife headshots, I have on hands-on, and every time the knife lands, I get that super energy, on top of hands-on, on top of the ×2 Practice Makes Perfect stack. The last 2 perk nodes are going to be talked about together. One leads into the other, line them up, and knock them down. First, knock them down. This perk right here is the game changer. This combined with the weighted knife makes for a very strong neutral game. Precision kills increase weapon stability and handling. Your super does more damage when cast while the buff is active with 20 or more seconds remaining. Very good perk node, legit S tier. Let's talk about that timer first. When you land your first critical final blow, you're granted a 10-second timer. Remember, 00 counts. The timer max is 25 seconds. While the timer's on your screen, you get the buffs, and we'll go over that in a moment, but the timer is affected by enemy type and how they were downed. In PvE, remember, the first one always gives you a 10-second timer. After that, you start gaining time. On a red bar, if you land a precision final blow, 5 seconds is added to the timer. If you land a body shot final blow, only 2 seconds are added. On a mid-tier yellow, a headshot final blow gives you an 8-second timer. A body shot final blow only gives you 4 seconds. On a large yellow bar, major, a headshot final blow gives you 10 seconds added on the timer, and a body shot final blow gives you 5 seconds. And we'll get back to this with line them up in a moment for the golden gun. In PvP, it works different. Again, your first precision final blow gives you 10 seconds. That's the standard. While a timer is on your screen and you're getting the buffs, a headshot final blow adds 10 seconds. But if you land a body shot final blow, only 5 seconds is added on. It's still good, but you want to be landing your headshots. And again, this perk will always start with a headshot final blow, and you get a 10-second timer. So the perk works starting off with any precision final blow when you're in PvE or PvP. You could get that timer going or extend the timer with a headshot from, let's say, the throwing knife. You can even use the golden gun itself to add to the timer. You could get out of your golden gun and have the buff ready for your next engagement already at max stack. But the big part is the buffs themselves, increase stability and handling. Incredible buffs. The handling part is pretty decent. Now, the aim down sights time is just slightly faster than base. It's a couple frames. It's nothing like a snapshot or a quick draw, but the second part of handling is a weapon swap. It does a really good job of that, going in between your weapons with improved handling, and you get better aim down sights. It's a really good part of it, but the big part is going to be the stability that you get. Once you get that precision final blow, the 10-second timer is on. It substantially reduces your recoil. It's nothing like, let's say, a frontal assault from Bottom Tree Striker, but it's still very, very good. The perk states precision kills increase weapon stability, but the way to look at it is with whatever weapon you're using, it's reducing the recoil by 45 to 50%. That's huge. Every single weapon that you use, and that goes for PC, mouse, and keyboard as well. And for you controller players, it's an even better buff for you guys. But it works on all platforms, it's elite. Things like Thorn become easily spammable and precise. And I've noticed that the longer that you're in the magazine, the shots keep getting tighter towards the end. And all you have to do is land a final blow, and you're gonna have that buff for the next engagement. And when you win that duel, you're gonna be adding on to the timer. So every single weapon benefits from this. Scout rifles, like Symmetry right here, very tight and stable grouping, and when the buff ends, you can see when its regular stability starts coming back into play. Randy's throwing knife, even high stability weapons like Jade Rabbit. Weapons like Pulse Rifles groups the burst tighter, making you more accurate, especially at a distance. The 4-round burst, aggressive frame like Blast Furnace, or like something like Bygones. it makes that grouping very, very tight, even with fusion rifles. Like this one right here that has tap the trigger and firmly planted. When you have the buff on your screen, this is going into that, so it tightens the grouping even more than it already is. And as this buff's going, remember, once you land those final blows, you're adding on time, so it keeps going and going. It works extremely well for any single shot or burst type weapon. The only ones that benefit less are going to be ones that are full auto, like auto rifle. The buff is there, you do get more stability, but the recoil pattern is still there, so it seems kind of off. There's a difference between stability, recoil direction, and recoil pattern. When talking about the pattern, each weapon has one. They have multiple patterns. If you spend a full magazine on, let's say, an auto rifle, it zigzags different directions. When you reload and do it again and shoot the wall, it's going to have a different pattern than it did with that first magazine. So that pattern's still going to be there, but it's still more stable. So having this stability makes your weapons, your gunplay, really, really good. When you're more stable, the actual recoil isn't popping as high, meaning it's centering to the target a little bit easier. This means it's easier to land up follow shots through flinch and just overall being more accurate. Again, it could proc off of a throwing knife, the golden gun. You can even land a sniper headshot, immediately switch to your primary weapon. You're going to have that 10 seconds and then go searching. And when you do that switch is faster and it's going to have better aim down sights. But the big difference again is the stability. It makes every single gun you use better. Fusion's shots get tighter, Pulse's shots get tighter. Overall recoil for console controller gets a bit more like regular PC recoil in some areas, very impressive. And again, it's even felt on mouse and keyboard. I went through the times earlier on the screen, but you can get, let's say, a sniper rifle headshot, then find another enemy quickly, get another headshot, and then immediately jump to 20 seconds in PvP. Now that's an eternity in game that you're gonna be searching for your next opponent, and things like a kill clip blast furnace with its improved stability just start shredding. It's really top tier stuff. And honestly, this is the main draw to the subclass. Don't get it twisted. The weighted knife is extra. It's the cherry on top. A lot of people are upset about the weighted knife, but it's this that you should really be worried about. This is what sets it apart from all the other subclasses. And that brings us to line them up. For your golden gun, it does have a passive bonus to aim assist and range while aiming now, or at least improved. Now has precision damage and precision hits with golden gun generate orbs. This plays into knock 'em down. Again, we went through the timer. When it's above 20 seconds, you consume the buff into the golden gun to get more damage. So right here with the regular golden gun, it does 26,610, then to 38,798, a 46% increase. Then the final shot does 60,352, a 55% increase from the previous shot. So at base, it does 125,760 total damage on this ogre. When you have over 20 seconds, pop your golden gun, you consume the buff. The first shot does 34,593, exactly 30% more damage from the original 26,610. That's what they stated. The second shot, 50,437, a 46% increase. And then this final shot does 85,766, a 70% jump. So with the perk consumed, the total golden gun damage is 170,796, 36% more overall damage from the original 125,760. So that brings us to the Celestial Nighthawk with bottom tree, and remember the knock 'em down perk cannot stack with it. It does 184,136. So the Nighthawk does 13,340 more damage now. That's not that much more, and to put that into perspective, that's roughly an adaptive frame sniper rifle headshot. So if you're at 25 seconds and land that sniper headshot with an adaptive frame, consume the buff, land the 3 shots, that's gonna be about a Celestial Nighthawk shot. And you're kind of wondering if you should use Nighthawk. It still does have use. It's a quick one shot, it does massive damage. If you down an enemy, you get combustion, and you get some super energy back. It's all going to depend on the situation. If there are no enemies around to get that 20-second timer, say in a damage phase or something like Gambit Prime, then the Nighthawk wins out. It's still good. But if not, that opens up exotics for bottom tree Gunslinger, the Phidias Spath in PvE. Maybe you don't need that Nighthawk, something like Assassin's Cowl, and many, many more. With the buff consumed though, the damage is very comparable to Celestial Nighthawk. They did a really good job. In conclusion, the full body of work from bottom tree is 100% about your gunplay. The perks all work together off of each other. It has both PvE and PvP usage. Every single weapon is better in your hands when you equip this subclass, and that goes a long way. Someone like me who entices and promotes and provokes primary weapon duels, this is a very welcome subclass. The gunplay, the weapons get better, they feel better in a pinch, or a chance to make a big play, you can throw that weighted knife. The biggest part of the skill tree though is knock 'em down. That's the main draw. Getting more stable, better handling. It's an all-around solid subclass. And on top of it, practice makes perfect allows you to get supers quicker as long as you're landing precision hits. I can confidently confidently tell you that this is my main now. This is what I mained in Destiny 1, and in a lot of ways, this is better than how it was in Destiny 1, just because how Destiny 2 plays. So with this video, I hope to arm you with information, and I hope that you learned something. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button, and if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about Bottom Tree Gunslinger. If you're a primary weapon user, you're gonna be in love, and you're gonna be rewarded. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I'm CoolGuy.